When I was a punk, I used to live in southeast London, so I'd jump on a train and I'd jump the barriers because I had no money. Most nights you don't get stopped, can't be asked to check your tickets, so they see a punk coming, they don't want to know whether you got a ticket most nights. So you start the evening hoping not to have paid to come up to town, to Soho, but really what you had to do was just keep asking people for 10p, because you very rarely had the money to get in. By the time you got here, you didn't come out with money, you come with the hope that you collect by begging enough to get through the door, one way or another. You then come to the corner just before you got there, and that's when you had to make the big decision of the night. Had you collected enough to pay the full price at the front door, or were you going to have to go round the back, search out the fire exit, and see if a bouncer could be persuaded to take your change off you and let you through the door. This bit round here where you hit the alleyways to get round the back was always quite interesting. It obviously doesn't look like it now, but it was an alley full of prostitutes, and the houses on the side were probably where they had their little rooms to take their customers. So what we tended to do was have a little bit of banter. I'd try and get extra 10p's off them, which they thought was very funny. I was up in Soho last night, but then this shows how times have changed. I was up here doing a yoga class.
I was 16 and I used to hang around with, or I wanted to hang around with the trendy cool kids, and they were all getting into punk and wearing the clothes and going to see the bands. And the only place that bands played at the time was the Roxy. So I didn't really know much about anything, but I knew the Roxy was the place to go. Covent Garden is unrecognisable now as to how it was then. It was disgusting, actually. Everywhere was run down, smelly, quite dangerous. It's just unrecognisable. For a start off, it's really light and shiny and bright and clean, and the Roxy was very dark and dank. I seem to remember sticky carpets on the floor. I think the bar was probably there, and the loos over there. I should remember that because I spent a lot of time in those loos, socialising. I used to cut hairs in the girls' loos because all anyone wanted was to have their hair chopped, and because I had the proper scissors, that made me qualified to do the punk haircut. But I do remember one particular night, and they were recording the Live at the Roxy album, and unbeknownst to us, whilst they were recording, they had hidden microphones in the toilets so that they could fill in between tracks with punters chatting or whatever. And I just happened to be cutting hair in the toilets that night, so I'm actually on the Live at the Roxy album, but just screeching a bit in between the tracks. I think the stage was over there. I mean, the only thing that I really still recognise are all these round pillars. Yeah, I'm not sure whether in the very beginning the ceiling was falling down or whether that was through people pogoing and jumping and punching up. The stage was just like a glorified step, really. So everyone would stand and they would trip and fall, and if it was really packed, because it was only a small place, you would just get pushed onto the stage and everyone would be standing on the stage or sitting on the stage. You could get up there and sing with them if you wanted. Of course, the other thing is, I mean, apart from the fact it was a long time ago, I'd usually had a fair amount to drink. And so those sorts of, the finer details of exactly where everything was, that becomes a bit hazy.
I I'd always wanted to see Siouxsie and the Banshees and saw an ad. They were doing a concert at the Rainbow Theatre. Got through straight away. Could have 2 tickets for Siouxsie and the Banshees Rainbow gig. Yeah, love. Do you want the front row? Front row? Yes, please. When I got there, I kind of like had a feeling that that was going to be turned into a mosh pit between the stage and the seats. I was a bit protective of my girlfriend then, so I decided just look like let's go back and stay on get in the 4th row. So the lights go out and this huge Japanese bell sort of soundtrack kind of like comes out, like all Gamelan bells. It was like really powerful and beautiful sounding, but it's all this dong, 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 dong. And your kind of adrenaline just like went right up. But at the same time as the adrenaline went up, all the kind of like massive punks just like pile from the back, just trying to get to the front. And there's us in the 4th row with kind of punks like left, right and centre coming between us. There was one that kind of knocked off my girlfriend's glasses and I grabbed all of his lapels saying, what are you doing, you twat? You just knocked off my girlfriend. And she's like going, ah. Yeah, seeing it all the way through and finishing on a song called The Lord's Prayer. How apt, because the Rainbow is now a church. I would really have liked to have gone in because I'd like to have just sort of like stood in that same position and just take a moment just to sort of take it in, you know, just the view, and just close my eyes and see if I could take myself back to that sort of time, you know. Yeah, it would have been a great experience, but alas, someone up there didn't decide that, did they?
Coming out, it was fantastic. I mean, it was freezing cold because it was like, you know, it was New Year's Day by the time we came out. So my head would be spinning and my ears would be ringing. No buses, no night buses, because it was New Year's Eve. There weren't such things as night buses, I presume, back then anyway. So we decided we'd walk back into central London and try and get a train. You had to sort of like keep your wits about you because you were basically sort of like, everyone was after your hide if you was a punk rocker. Yeah, the police didn't like us. The Teds didn't like us, the Straights didn't like us, the football hooligans didn't like us. So we just headed off in the direction south that we thought we were going south, and ended up at Euston Station thinking, we can get a cup of tea in there. But unfortunately it was still locked up. But we were sort of rescued by the fact that the fire brigade was on strike and had a picket line outside Euston Station. We just joined in their picket line protest, probably being right pains in the arse to them really, I suppose. We stayed there for about an hour till about 4 when the station opened, went in, had a cup of tea until we thought the first buses would start running. So yeah, probably got home about 10 o'clock, maybe 11 in the morning, to a chorus of disapproval from my parents. So why didn't you tell us? No mobile phone, not invented yet, Mum, you know. No change for a phone box, and you knew where I was going anyway. It was a fair old time to just go and see 3 bands, you know. So yeah, that was about it. That's how I did New Year's Eve, 31st of December 1977.